Alright guys, welcome to our first video of the channel here, and we're gonna start by making some tires. Kinda simple. You don't need a whole lot here. You need a freezer bag. You need some silicone, paint, and cornstarch. So it's a pretty simple recipe, and what we gotta start off with here though, we got one ingredient. A drop of Dawn. Granted, you don't need the tub here. We just need a little smidgen. Grab yourself a little container. Go ahead and pour a wee bit in there. That'll probably be enough for what we're doing. And then you want to add some water to that. Once you add your water, that's about how much we got in there. It's not a whole heaping heck of a lot. So then what you want to do, you want to grab a paintbrush and just mix that in together. And what this is going to do is going to act as our mold release agent. And I've watched quite a few different videos on people making their own tires and such, and this is kind of the best one for a mold release agent. Now the reason why it works is I watched this old fella make some tires, and the reason why he says it works is the difference in material from your silicone to, well, in this case I printed these out, so these are made out of resin. The first ones were printed out of plastic. So this is the first time we're using the resin molds, and it should yield a much finer looking tire. So we'll go ahead, and you don't need a whole lot, just enough to cover it. Just enough to make a nice little layer, and for it to dry off. You want to avoid making foam, and if you make some foam, just kind of brush it off in a way, and eventually it'll dry up, and once it's on there, it's like a little film. Trust me. So we'll go ahead and apply that on everything and every surface. So this here is an infill for our tires, so that'll save us a lot of silicone. And it'll also give us a more realistic looking and feeling tire at the end of the process. Now you can print these out to have different thicknesses, and that'll give you a different thickness sidewall. So depending on how heavy your RC truck, or if you want something that has, kind of simulates a lower PSI, then you go for a thinner wall. So say you're making like a mud crawler or something like that, and you want to have low PSI, then you just print it out to have a much thinner sidewall. Same could be said if you are printing, if you're making a semi truck and the thing's kind of on the heavy side, well, you can make it so then you either have much thicker sidewalls, which will take the load. We are good to proceed to our mixing part of the video. Well, yeah, we just want to get it nice and coated everywhere. This is the second half of it, so we're getting to the end of the run here. And that's pretty much all we got to do for our prepping. Now, the goal of this is to save you guys a world of weird searches when you're trying to make molds. Silicone molds, to be exact. Alright, let's get to the fun part. So for the fun part, I recommend we'll start off with making a nice protective barrier on our hands, alright? Don't go crazy. You don't have to go crazy. Just enough to moisten, cover it. Just a nice little film, a little bit of everywhere on there. And trust me, you'll see how much this helps for cleanup and helps to prevent it actually sticking to you. All right, first things first, we'll grab a Ziploc bag and a caulking gun and silicone. Now, I kind of went the cheap route on this one. This isn't the pure clear one, but what you want to make sure you got is 100% silicone. That's what you're looking for. Now this is actually white silicone. First time I'm using it to make tires, but bear with me one moment. This is the clear silicone. It's a little mock tire I've got here. And as you can see, without the paint, it comes out clear. That's because of the cornstarch we're using. But the cornstarch also acts as a good binding agent, like gives the silicone a different texture other than just being rubber. But also the important part of the cornstarch, just regular old cornstarch, the important part of this is that the cornstarch itself acts like an air, it retains air where moisture, and that's what the silicone needs to cure or dry. So now, that's the secret behind this. Well guys, I suggest that you get the clear silicone, because this is the results the clear silicone is going to give you. Unfortunately, price-wise, I tried to go a little bit cheaper and ended up with that white silicone, and this is what we got. Now we're still gonna roll with it. It's still gonna work to get the principle here and show you guys how to get a tire. Maybe next video we'll show you guys how to get the tire with the proper color. There's an idea. Let's proceed here. So now that we're ready, you want to take your X-Acto knife, open up that little top corner, grab our molds, and you just want to see, yeah, it's gonna be a marble tire, but heck, the principle is gonna be the same here. And usually I usually just start off with one tire at a time, but we'll squeeze what we need for both of them. We've got an extra. I always do like to have another little mold ready for that. You do want to have paper towels at the ready. Alright, so now the idea here, you just want to run your finger and smear that into the treads. You want to start with the treads because it's the finer details that you're going to see, right? And it's what we're going for. But you can already see that the soap doesn't really allow the silicone to really stick to my fingers, right? So you can work it in a different little way. Now, can you do the same thing with water? Yes, but we're trying to avoid making a bigger mess than what we're already making. And then it also just kind of gets sloppy once you add water in there. So you just want to run in, put pressure on there, and make sure you fill that tread up all the way around. And while you're doing that, you can also try to even out how much you got. And then the interesting spot is to try and fill in your bead. But the thing is, you don't want to get air pockets in here either. And the other thing is, like I said, you got about 45 minutes until it is able to get out of the mold. So that being said, time is kind of valuable. So now I'm gonna try and smoothen it here while applying pressure. So that should help seat the little details we want. Something like such is about the amount we want. So then when you take your ring here, your infill ring, that wasn't exactly the way I want to squeeze it in. Yeah, that's what you end up with, something just like that. Keep those edges, don't smear that. That's perfect. So now we'll work on our second one here. And we'll do the same thing. We want to work that silicone in. Just like that. You just want to make sure you try to get all those little air gaps. And this is just making tires on a budget, but we'll see how we can make a whole truck on a budget. And you know, this channel kind of varies a little bit in every aspect. So if you're a maker of any kind, I think we'll find something we can relate on. But you can already see that the silicone's starting to dry and tear with rapid movements. And that's a good indicator that our mixture is pretty potent. So now we'll go ahead and put our second infill in. Squeeze that down and through as such. Grab our two halves and we'll squeeze that. And we'll squeeze that like that. And if you have yourself a little arbor press, it helps. So then we'll put it in the press as such. Grab another one. Drop that down. And we don't need a whole lot of force, but the important part is that we want to keep the mold nice and even. And we'll apply slight pressure and watch everything squeeze out until it stops squeezing out. That's when you know you can just leave the pressure of the screwdriver on it and you're done. So now, again, that is the beauty, that proofing your hands with a little bit of soap goes a long ways to have cleanup. Alright, it's been about 45 minutes to an hour here. Yeah, check the tail. You see how we're not leaving fingerprints anymore? I think we should be okay to split this. Now you just want to work it a little bit, back and forth. Just twist. Eventually, one half should come off and up. I'm kind of weary about this one, but we'll see what we get. I'm gonna grab a little spatchy here. I'm gonna cut our corners. Something as such should do okay. And there we have our first resin tire, which looks like it's ready to go on Mars or something with the color, but hey, you can't win them all. So now to pop the back side out, you push on the inner insert, and we'll carefully try to get the bead out without ripping nothing, because it's still kind of in the fragile stage. There we go. Something like that. Kind of because this guy stayed, so made it a little bit rough, but hey, you can put that on our tire rack, I'm thinking. So now it's still soft. This is what we'll do, and you gotta be kind of gentle and careful, but we'll peel out that insert. And then you let it cure for about another 2-3 hours, and it should be able to be installed and put to use. Now, I am quite happy with how this tire came out, except for a couple minor defects, but well, so is the color, but we know where we went wrong on the color. Now this happens because I could probably use a little bit less cornstarch in there, and it probably wouldn't have started curing while I was smearing it, and then, well, that's another thing that kind of makes it a little, it starts to dry and then it pulls the material away from where it's already set in. Or this could also have been from not actually smearing it into the grooves well enough. Other than that, for a homemade tire for your projects, one little stop at the hardware store, maybe a stop at your local library, print it out, and this is what you can have. We'll move our camera in a little bit closer. So this, because we smushed it against the table, most of this should just pretty much come off. And now we'll try to twist the insert, twist it free. There we go, I felt it break free. I'll just try and pop her out and up. And now for a little more interesting part. This one we might have to wait a little bit longer, let it cure a little more. And we'll see what we get. Let's smoothen this top with a little X-Acto knife. Smooth that out. And just smooth that off. And then just start pushing a little bit. I don't think this one's gonna turn out too good. We'll give it the old college try though. I want to help it out a little bit too. Yeah. See, I could have waited a little bit longer on that one, but I think it'll take its shape back. No problem. That's a little bit of excess. Brush that off. And before you know it, you got your little airbag. And that's a wrap for today. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for our next project.